Food recalls aren't uncommon. Every few days you'll hear about an item taken off the shelves for one reason or another. Unfortunately, these product suspensions will often begin after people have already bought the goods, and in some instances, these buyers have faced severe consequences. One notorious incident was the 2007 Peter Pan peanut butter recall. In February of the year, Conagra Brands, the maker of the iconic food, pulled the plug on 3 years' worth of its product after hundreds or even thousands of cases of salmonella linked to the item started cropping up in 47 separate states. The 700 plus confirmed individuals who had the misfortune of eating a jar of peanut butter with the product code beginning in 2111 suffered numerous food poisoning symptoms like fever, diarrhea, and abdominal cramps, to name a few. This whole ordeal commenced a year before the recall in 2006, when doctors across the United States began seeing patients dealing with critical gastrointestinal issues produced by salmonella. Around 140 people ended up in the hospital. Following this, the CDC, FDA, and state health officials investigated the outbreak's origin. As the investigation was ongoing, Conagra released a statement informing consumers that they could request a full refund if they had bought a jar of the Peter Pan peanut butter. Throughout the investigation, authorities eventually found themselves at a Conagra production plant in Sylvester, Georgia, where they concluded that the epidemic had stemmed from this facility. On March 7th, the CDC published its findings and advised the public to discard their Peter Pan peanut butter jars and seek medical help if they felt ill after eating the product. The organization also stated that they were working with Conagra to identify what caused the contamination of the peanut butter. But more importantly, 13 days after this statement, a creepy YouTube video titled "Peanut Butter Recall" was uploaded by Jim Adler Houston. For context, Jim Adler is a Texas-based attorney who runs a law firm representing personal injury victims, and considering that this case was right up the legal office's alley, Adler saw the golden opportunity and decided to make this unsettling PSA. However, this message wasn't exclusive to YouTube, as the law firm aired it on national television where most of the country saw it. The commercial shared the following message. There are a few things that make this announcement unnerving. First off, the music Adler and his team used is haunting. As you hear it play, the feelings of anxiety and a sense of urgency looms. One feels obligated to avoid the Peter Pan peanut butter at all costs and contact the law firm to receive compensation if they've been affected by the food. The mention of death also heavily contributes to the commercial's uneasiness, especially if you watch this after eating the peanut butter. Lastly, the deadpan and slightly distorted voices make an already chilling video even more terrifying. This ad was incredibly well executed and left a lasting impression on many who viewed it. Some individuals shared their regrettable experiences with Peter Pan peanut butter in the video's comment section. One commenter wrote, "My wife miscarried because of this. We could never establish if it was a strain that was contained by peanut butter, even though we did have a contaminated lot." Another said, "I actually got salmonella because of this back in the day. I was only 6, and both me and my parents were extremely ill due to it. I never realized until seeing this that it was a widespread thing, and I thought we had just gotten a bad jar. My entire family was literally grabbing each other and throwing each other out of the bathroom every 30 seconds because they couldn't hold back the sickness any longer. Still to this day, it was the most painfully sick I have ever been." This recall spot is truly one of the creepiest I have ever seen, and feels like the exact sort of thing you'd see in childhood, at something like your grandma's house, watching TV late at night, and then this recall announcement comes up. That would be a long-lasting, creepy childhood memory, and it was for many, many people. It's also truly saddening to see how this outbreak deeply affected some families, particularly with something as horrible as a miscarriage. Nonetheless, you can imagine people began suing Conagra around this time. A New York family filed suit against the food corporation, alleging that the dad and 2-year-old infant fell violently ill after consuming the peanut butter. It's unknown what the family wanted out of the lawsuit. Another family in Texas sued the brand, claiming that their 2-year-old boy and 5-year-old girl became sick after eating the food. They sought damages for pain and suffering and medical bills. More specifically, they wanted $75,000 per kid. Of course, these were only 2 lawsuits of several filed against Conagra, but generally speaking, they all followed the same pattern. An individual or family got sick after eating the peanut butter and sued for damages in hopes of getting restitution. Nevertheless, sometime after the lawsuit began, Conagra released a statement disclosing what caused the peanut butter's contamination. The April 2007 release reads, "The company believes that moisture inadvertently entered the production process and allowed the growth of low-level dormant salmonella in the environments that were likely present from raw peanuts or peanut dust. We are truly sorry for any harm our peanut butter products caused and intend to resolve any claims to peanut butter fairly and expeditiously." The corporation also mentioned that they would designate a recognized and well-respected food safety expert to a leadership position, which will consolidate responsibility for existing and future company-wide oversight of food safety initiatives and systems in a single position. Additionally, they plan to create a food safety advisory committee composed of leading independent experts uniquely positioned in the industry to help shape the company's efforts. Above all else, Conagra shared its plans to reopen the Georgia production plant in August. After it thoroughly addressed all possible causes of the salmonella outbreak, the company will also take the time to implement the significant changes to the plant, including installing new state-of-the-art machinery, technology, and designs throughout the plant. Upon the facility's restoration, Peter Pan peanut butter began returning to stores in the summer of 2007, 6 months after Conagra initially removed the product from retailers. But at this point, two questions remain unanswered. Firstly, did anyone die from eating the peanut butter? Thankfully, no one formally passed away from consuming the food. I say formally because at least 3 deaths were reported and unofficially attributed to the contaminated peanut butter. One such case was the passing of 85-year-old Mary Halstead of West Virginia on January 10th of 2007. While hospitalized, Halstead requested a peanut butter sandwich. The staff informed her that they didn't serve peanut butter to patients, so her son Larry took it upon himself to remedy the situation. Dumb old me. I made a peanut butter sandwich at home and brought it to her to the hospital because it was just about the only thing she wanted to eat. In no time, she got 100% worse. Mary then fell into a coma and perished. Once his mom died, Larry found out about the outbreak, and the peanut butter they had used to make his mom's sandwich came from none other than the tarnished 2111 jar. Her doctors didn't even test her for salmonella because no one had heard about any of this at the time. Her doctor said she couldn't figure out why the antibiotics weren't working. Larry also said, the death certificate says that she died of congestive heart failure due to complications with pneumonia, but she died of eating peanut butter. She was in good health for her age before this all started. According to him, his mom suffered something awful in her final days. Larry concluded by saying that he was considering pursuing a lawsuit against Conagra, although it's uncertain if he ever filed suit. Aside from these unfortunate passing, 11-year-old Christina Brew of Indiana suffered renal failure and had to go through a kidney transplant with her dad, providing one of his kidneys to help his daughter in such a dire situation. They sued the food corporation for an unspecified amount for restitution. Christina, her mom, told the press she's tired of the illness. She's also tired herself. She's not got the energy like she used to. The young girl spent several months on dialysis, and because of her grave conditions, her parents were obligated to miss work. As you can expect, the medical bills started piling up. I just set my bills aside right now because I'm concerned about my daughter and her surgery, said Christina. Fortunately, the transplant went well. Sherry McGinnis Gonzalez, a University of Illinois Medical Center spokeswoman, said, everything went well as expected. The father and the daughter are both recovering and doing well, and her kidney is functioning. While the preteen was in the ICU, Kenneth Allen, the family's lawyer, spoke out. It appears that this time his kidney is not being rejected by her, but we have to hold our breath for about 48 hours to see whether the rejection antibodies form. It looks like this is going to have a relatively happy ending, except she's still going to have medication for the rest of her life. Conagra filed a motion for summary judgment in response to the Brew family's lawsuit. This act means a judgment entered by a court for one party and against another party without full trial. They essentially wanted the judge to settle the suit and avoid trial. Unfortunately for them, Judge Thomas W. Thrash denied their motion years after Christina's kidney implant on August 14th, 2013. I'm unsure what came of this lawsuit. Regardless, the more important question we must address is, did Conagra suffer any real consequences? Multiple families had already sued the food company, and the lawsuits mentioned only scratched the surface. However, the corporation hadn't truly faced the music until May of 2015, when the Department of Justice announced a Conagra subsidiary took a plea deal. As part of this agreement, the company pled guilty to distributing tainted peanut butter and was fined over $11 million for committing a misdemeanor infraction of the National Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. The penalty included an $8 million criminal fine and a $3 million asset forfeiture, making it the highest sanction in a food security case. Conagra also admitted several damning things in the plea agreement. The worst was their knowledge of a potential salmonella contamination risk, yet they still proceeded with the manufacturing of the food. To add insult to injury, the corporation said its product testers failed to find salmonella in the Peter Pan peanut butter, as some of the workers didn't even understand how to assess the results of their tests. It wasn't until after the recall that Conagra properly examined the samples and determined that they were adulterated by salmonella. U.S. Attorney Michael J. Moore said the following regarding the company's punishment. The proposed criminal fine and sentence in this case should sound the alarm for food companies across the country. We are watching. We are expecting you to hold yourself to a standard reflective of the trust that your consumers have placed in you. No more excuses. A lot of people got very, very sick because of the conduct in this case, and we are committed to doing all we can to make sure that that does not happen again. Over a year later, in December of 2016, Judge Louis W. Sands approved the plea deal between Conagra and prosecutors, which forced the corporation to pay a hefty $11 million fine. The federal government would receive the forfeitures, valued at $3,200,000, but the victims would get none of the $11 million. However, the company had already paid $36 million to 6,810 individuals as part of the civil settlements. Douglas Fellman, a Conagra lawyer, told Judge Sands the company has behaved in a model way, as a model corporate citizen ever since that time. We have had an unblemished record. Peter Pan peanut butter is wholesome and it's safe. When digging deeper into the statement, Fellman is right. Conagra has had a spotless track record since this catastrophic dilemma. The company got its shit together and cleaned up its act, which has led to flawless reputations since 2007. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for other corporations, because as recently as 2022, the J.M. Smucker Company had to recall Jif due to another salmonella outbreak. Nonetheless, it's good to see a business as large as Conagra step up to the plate and ensure that its products are safe to eat. But it's a shame that the peanut butter recall of 2007 even had to occur in the first place, for there to be any change. I hope all those affected by the epidemic are doing well, and I also hope that this video serves as a cautionary tale. Stay vigilant and ensure that the foods that you buy are safe to consume. Otherwise, you may end up like one of the poor souls we covered today. Interestingly enough, I have been fascinated in this case for a while now. I found the recall spot back in 2021 and it creeped me out on a very, very deep level. From there, I showed it to a bunch of people and they agreed, which led me to add it to my Gen Z childhood trauma community iceberg, which I was making at the time. This video has actually been in the works since 2021 in purely a conceptual way, but now it's finally a thing. Here's a video of me asking what people would want to see all the way back then. Now, interestingly enough, in 2021 on eBay appeared a Peter Pan peanut butter jar, like the recalled one, and I guess as a little nod to the code of it, the price was $211.10. Now, I was actually going to buy this for this video all the way back then, but the eBay account had a weird little rule where you had to have bought something else from their store before you bought an expensive thing, or something like that. It was strange, and I didn't want to spend more money on something I didn't need, so it ended up falling through. However, it turns out that selling this peanut butter is actually illegal. The Marler Clark food safety law firm uploaded a blog post about this incident, and claimed that, quote, setting aside the fact that it's stupid to try and sell at an outrageous markup a recalled product that was known to be contaminated with salmonella, the answer is that it is illegal, as viewed by the FDA, and is against eBay's own policies. eBay's safety policy makes clear that it's against its own policy to sell the products. The rule is that selling products that pose a health or safety hazard aren't allowed to ensure safety and well-being of our members. eBay does not allow listings for items that are banned, recalled, or dangerous to a buyer. The following types of items include products recalled by a manufacturer or government agency, products where the sale of the product is prohibited by law or regulation, and products that pose a health or safety hazard as specified by any government agency. And that makes it pretty clear. So unfortunately, I didn't get my hands on this recalled peanut butter, but I really wish I did. It would be a very morbid thing to have in my room, but a very interesting trinket nonetheless, and it would have made this video just that much more interesting. I also want to give a huge shout out to a YouTuber by the name of Skipperson, who made a video about the recall inspired by the entry in the childhood trauma iceberg. His video is great, and if you want more content about this, it's basically the only other video on the topic, so I'd highly recommend you check it out. But it seems that's about it. I've been Raymundo2112, and I hope that you enjoyed this look back into one of the most infamous recent food recalls. You've been a great audience, and I'll see you all in the next one.